I'm Cold. This is Pine Sap. Let's make some glue.
To make pine glue, all you need is some pine sap, or technically pine pitch, charcoal, and some natural fibers or herbivore droppings. These help bind to the glue, not only making it less sticky to work with, but also strengthening it, kind of like how natural fibers strengthen clay and prevent it from cracking in the heating process. All I'm doing here is getting a fire going because 1, I can't feel my mini-me, and 2, we need to crush up some charcoal, which we'll get to in just a minute. Instead of using herbivore droppings such as deer or rabbit poop, I actually opted for cattail fibers because, well, I didn't feel like playing with shit today. There's always tomorrow. Now that I've collected my coals in this tin, I'm going to begin the frustrating process of breaking them down into finer, usable grit. I say frustrating because this tin was previously used to make biochar or activated charcoal, so there's little slits on the top, which allowed most of the finer stuff to slip through as I crushed them up. Very frustrating. One mistake I made was not grinding them finer, and this made the final product a bit lumpy and likely not as strong. Next time I make this, I'm going to blend the charcoal up in a cheap blender and have it ready to go beforehand. I've heard a lot of people say it's a bad idea to store your sap or pitch in glass jars, but as you can see, it's not that big a deal. All you need to do is heat it up a bit, and you can easily scoop some out for whatever your needs are. Note that this stuff is technically pine pitch because it's what's globbed up around an injury site on the tree, making it easier to work with, whereas the pine sap is always liquid and can be considered the blood of the tree flowing throughout the tree at all times. I've moved the tin away from the fire because I actually walked away and came back to the pitch on fire, like the whole thing. Not a big deal, I just threw some snow in to put out the fire real quick, and while I probably burnt off some of the turpentine, which you want to avoid, it was a good learning lesson. Anytime I saw it starting to bubble, I just rotate the can. So the goal is to get this stuff fluid again, but without actually boiling it. Again, we want that natural turpentine as it'll help keep the material soft and workable. Now that the sap is liquid again, I'm going to go ahead and add in my materials. One step I missed because I haven't quite learned this skill yet is to try and separate any debris such as wood chunks, bugs, and whatever else from the sap first. Or just use sap that doesn't have any debris at all. That's always a good idea. This method still works as you'll see, but I've heard once you refine your sap like I mentioned, it holds up far better, so I'll try that next time. It's still sticky to the touch, so I know I'll need to add in more charcoal and cattail fibers. After adding those in, I just tossed it back over some coals and kept stirring to get the consistency just right, without overheating it, of course. You can see it is a bit lumpy because of the larger bits of charcoal that didn't get totally pulverized. However, this was my first attempt at making this stuff, and I think it turned out pretty good.
And here's the finished product. Nature's glue. It's that easy.
I now know what to do differently next time, and overall this was a lot easier than I thought it would be. If I had all my materials prepped ahead of time, I could have done this in like 2 minutes now that I know how much charcoal and natural fibers to add. Aside from its simplicity, the cool thing about this stuff is its versatility. I'm sure there's a better way to do this, maybe adding in way more natural fibers as you're refining the pitch, but this natural torch could definitely give you a few minutes of visibility in a survival situation. Make a few of these by your fire during the day, and you could have a night light to guide you on your midnight bathroom treks.
It could save your life.
Probably the most common and known uses for this stuff is to fasten and secure spear and arrow tips. I just reheated my torch up and fastened this arrowhead onto the tip of the arrow with just jute cordage to help secure it in place. Again, you want a finished product not to be as clumpy as this, but this still did the job. Once I was happy with it, I just reheated it back over the fire to help the glue fill in any cracks and then let it cool off to strengthen the bond. Thanks for watching.